Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight on this Monday evening. Our top story. Marianne's dad and brother died at Auschwitz. The 100-year-old explains why the world must never forget. Marianne settled in the Northwest after arriving on the Kindertransport. She will share her family's story with us shortly. Also tonight, more windy weather brings havoc as the latest winter storm hits parts of the Northwest.
I'm at Turf Moor for a mouth-watering clash in the Championship as third-place Burnley welcome the leaders, Leeds United.
I am, and have been from the start, a traitor.
Is she the ultimate traitor? Mina's here to reflect on going from Liverpool call centre manager to primetime TV star.
And while Storm Armenia has brought strong winds and some heavy downpours for some, it's actually brought some sunshine in places too. How are we set for this week? Join me at the end of the programme. I'll bring you all the details.
If you've ever been to Auschwitz, it is something that you will never forget. I won't. But 80 years to the day after the infamous Nazi death camp was liberated, the number of survivors still alive to tell their stories is diminishing every year. So today, on Holocaust Memorial Day, we can hear from one of them. Marianne Phillips' father and brother died at Auschwitz, but she had escaped to England. Marianne is now 100, and her life has been written into a book by a Manchester-based Jewish charity. As Stuart Pollitt reports.
Marianne knits regularly, walks daily and recently mastered email and Zoom. She was born a century ago, part of a Jewish family living in Berlin.
When Hitler came to power in 1933, I was 9 years old. And of course my first experience was in school, when all of a sudden I was ostracized. My friends wouldn't play with me, and I was called the Jewish girl.
Marianne had a father and younger brother, but as life for Jews in Nazi Germany worsened, a decision was made.
After Kristallnacht, they created the Kindertransport, which of course was, taking all in all about 10,000 children in the end.
In 1939, she left Berlin for Britain.
We were not aware that we would be going forever. Our parents were. My father certainly was. And to this day, I remember the hug I got from my father when we said goodbye. Because I now realize that wasn't the hug you give a child. That was a hug of farewell.
Marianne's father Martin and brother Herbert would die at Auschwitz.
Preceded by a shower of flares, German bombers rained fire and high explosive bombs in their most savage attack on London.
Marianne lived in London during the Blitz and reunited with childhood sweetheart Harry, who also left Berlin on the Kindertransport.
And having ended up in England together, we were a great support for each other. He'd already made up his mind that he was going to marry me then, and we did eventually marry.
So this is your early days in Berlin?
I must have been about 3 months, I would guess.
Now a mother and grandmother, Marianne chronicled her life story as part of a major project.
The Feds My Voice project publishes the life stories of Holocaust survivors and refugees in Greater Manchester. It's been going for about 7 or 8 years now, and we've done 45 books altogether, with another about 15 or so in production. We've had such incredible feedback, especially when survivors like Marianne have gone into schools and told her story, and the children have managed to read the book as well.
Marianne feels it's essential to continue telling her story.
I have to give. And one of the things I can give is my personal experience. And people tell me that meeting somebody who was there seems to make an impression. And as long as I can do that, I will. I think that what happened following Holocaust was something so horrific that future generations need to know about it.
Marianne Phillips there speaking to Stuart Pollitt. Our thanks to her for sharing her story. So important that her story and all the others continue to be told, not now, but also long into the future. And as you will have seen, world leaders gathered at Auschwitz-Birkenau in Poland to mark the 80th anniversary of its liberation today, while events have also been held here to mark Holocaust Memorial Day. In St Helens, a blue plaque was unveiled to commemorate one of the town's former MPs, Sir Hartley Shawcross, who served as the lead British prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials following the end of the Second World War. His son and daughter were present for the ceremony, as Mairead Smith reports.
Sir Hartley Shawcross in 1945, the UK's chief prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials at the end of the Second World War, when Nazi leaders stood trial.
Our suffering was the result of crimes against the law of peoples.
Today, a blue plaque was unveiled in his honour in St Helens, where he was MP between 1945 and 1958 and served as the Attorney General.
As Attorney General, he was responsible for helping set up the Nuremberg war crimes tribunals to try the leading Nazis who were on trial for the persecution of the Jews and for waging an illegal war and all manner of other crimes.
For your father, do you feel that his role at the Nuremberg trials was perhaps his most important one of his career?
I think he would say it was the most important job he ever did, and I think it was too, because Nuremberg established a record of the atrocities committed against the Jews, which are still being committed all across the world today. There's still appalling anti-Semitism, as we have seen.
The plaque has been placed at the entrance to St Helens Town Hall.
This is the heartbeat of the town. It's where all the decisions are made. It's where the administration is run from. So the fact that we mark our former MP in this way, certainly for his role, I think is very poignant.
Sir Hartley Shawcross's daughter Joanna says her father made them aware of the horrors that happened under the Nazis.
He said we have a responsibility. We can't just ignore these things. We must do things. And I think, coming from a position of privilege like I did as a child, we were taught that we have a responsibility in life to pay back, to do something useful, to change things, not to ignore events like that.
And as we remember the victims of the Holocaust today, we recall how important the Nuremberg trials were in bringing Nazi leaders to justice, led by Sir Hartley Shawcross. Mairead Smith, BBC North West Tonight, St Helens.
There's lots more coverage of events around Holocaust Memorial Day today on the BBC News website and app. Now let's take a look at some of the other stories making headlines in the North West tonight. And a man has been treated in hospital for a slash wound to his face after an attack in Liverpool city centre. Merseyside police have released these CCTV images of a man they're trying to track down following the assault on Fleet Street in the early hours of yesterday. The funeral of the Liverpool drag star, the Vivienne, was held today. The performer, James Lee Williams, died earlier this month at the age of 32. The Vivienne won the first series of the television show RuPaul's Drag Race. An unexploded World War II hand grenade has been found in Ulverston Canal in Cumbria. The discovery was made by divers from the BBC programme Lost and Found in the Lakes, probably not quite what they were expecting to find. The area was evacuated and the device was removed by the bomb disposal unit. And talking of unusual discoveries, spare a thought for Casey Lee from Burnley, who had something of a shock when she went to the bathroom. She found a snake trying to escape from her toilet. Casey contacted the RSPCA to try to rescue the harmless corn snake, but it got away. It is suspected to be an escaped pet. I suspect she'll be anxious every time she goes to the loo now. Now, around 500 properties are still without power in Cumbria tonight after back-to-back named storms battered the region. High winds damaged power lines in hundreds of locations across the northwest over the weekend, disrupting homes, businesses and transport. Engineers have been working throughout the day to try to restore supplies, as Katie Barnfield reports.
Shap in Cumbria, in the midst of Storm Éowyn. Suddenly, a flash of lightning hits one of the houses and half the roof is blown clean off. The people who live there told us they've been left exposed to the elements all weekend and the damage is getting worse. The aftermath of the storm is still affecting large parts of the region. Across Cumbria, more than 100,000 properties were left without electricity because of extensive damage to power lines. Teams of engineers have been working through the day today to get the lights back on in the last 1,000 houses.
It's been a challenging set of circumstances starting off at the beginning of this because it wasn't safe for our engineers to get out in those high winds. To date, we've already put some customers into hotels. We have welfare facilities in a number of different areas across the region.
Staff at the Mortal Man Hotel at Troutbeck near Windermere have had to throw away thousands of pounds worth of food from their fridges and freezers because of the loss of power. They've been forced to turn away customers and cancel bookings just as the hotel had reopened.
We had a full hotel booked in, so we had to try and reach around and, speak to everybody who was travelling down, try and get messages out to them to be able to make sure that they didn't turn up to the hotel. We've just gone through the fridges now and the freezers. We've lost all of the stock because the power's been out for so long. The worst part about it is we've got a 3-month-old newborn downstairs, obviously, so I've had no heating or anything, so we had to go out yesterday and buy a gas heater.
Wind gusts of over 80 miles an hour damaged power lines in more than 200 different locations across Lancashire and Cumbria. Some properties still won't have their supply restored until tomorrow. After 2 named storms back-to-back battering the northwest, the road to recovery has been a long one. Katie Barnfield, BBC North West Tonight.
And Kate will be here with the weather forecast for us at the end of the programme. Now, the authorities in Manchester say that they are struggling to cope with the number of refugees arriving in the city and sleeping on the streets, many having started out in other parts of the country. Figures obtained exclusively by BBC North West show a sharp rise coming to that part of the region, as Kevin Fitzpatrick reports.
St Peter's Square in Manchester and a growing community of refugees with nowhere to live. 35-year-old Maher from Yemen is among them.
I don't feel safety in my home country because I'm going to UK for searching about safety.
After being given the right to remain in the UK, he had to leave his Home Office-run hotel 2 weeks ago.
I sleep in the town hall because I don't have any place for going to. The cold, too cold. Something have a rain, something have a snow.
Abdullah has fled the war in Sudan. After being evicted from his hotel, he had 3 weeks sleeping rough before he found temporary accommodation.
It's very rough. Some people say UK is not like the UK we expected because we came from terrible conditions and we end up like in a terrible condition once again.
A charity helping the refugees says numbers have shot up in 6 months. From March to December, it supported more than 1,000 people. The vast majority are from Eritrea and Sudan. And nearly 2/3 have come to Manchester after being given refugee status elsewhere in the UK. In response, the City Council is funding this welcome hub to provide for basic needs.
What usually happens is people first come in for help with their food, with clothing or physiological needs, but then as they learn a little bit more about us, they can come into our training stream so we can help somebody maximise their income, help somebody find settled homes and help somebody get into work.
As they're young and single, these refugees won't get social housing. Is it frustrating that they're coming from elsewhere in the country and you're having to support them through this when others could be doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a national issue and I think we need a national answer to it, really. Things like learning English, having access to training, and there is a campaign also to let them have the right to work. That would all help, because when the time comes when they get their decision to stay, they'll be more prepared.
At the moment, around 70% of asylum seekers are qualifying to remain in the UK. Salah, who's from Sudan, said Manchester will remain a popular destination.
Some of them, after they get the refugee status from other cities, after that they come to the Manchester because they think they have better opportunities in Manchester.
Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Now, this is a bit of a treat, and if you haven't seen The End of the Traitors and you weren't watching it last week, you might want to switch off, but really, you should have done by now, shouldn't you? It's a bit of a spoiler alert, I suppose. It has become a must-see series, one of the BBC's biggest hits for a long time, and the latest series of The Traitors has become a real TV event. The third series, this time, was run jointly by Jake, a project manager from Barrow, but I think it's probably fair to say that a 29-year-old call centre manager from Liverpool was perhaps the show's biggest star.
I am and have been from the start. A traitor.
Rena Shannon is here. You must have felt a bit disappointed. They were so glad to see the back of you.
Yeah, it's like, guys, I thought we were friends. Everyone's like, come on. It still makes me nervous watching that.
Yeah.
It was so intense.
What is it about that programme that has been so successful, do you think?
I honestly think it's just watching 25 absolute strangers lose their minds in a gorgeous castle. It's like brilliant unscripted TV. You know, you wouldn't think that 25 people would create such an intense, emotional, just like impactful bit of TV over January, but that's what's happened.
And it is amazing, isn't it? Because it's a very simple format, like all the best things, I suppose. It's a simple idea. People just basically telling lies to each other and trying to get away with it.
Yeah.
And it's just caught such a nerve, hasn't it?
100%. I think the way that, you know, we all have to work together in the missions to make money, because everyone wants to win, regardless if you're a traitor or a faithful. That just shows you, you know, like teamwork and stuff like that. But then the backstabbing and the plotting and the scheming from the traitors trying to take down the faithful catching on to us, you know, like Jake caught Linda's head turn in the first episode.
Yeah.
So I suppose for a viewer, you're thinking, at what point are they going to listen to Jake and actually catch Linda?
Yeah, and you were a traitor right from the start. There was a great bit, I think it was the one where you actually got voted out, where you're sitting with, was it Leanne, and you're looking at her right in the eyes and you're saying, no, trust me, I am a faithful, I'm not a traitor. I mean, does lying come easily?
You know what? No, it doesn't. But I was just in character and I thought, I just want to have a laugh with this, make the most of it.
Yeah.
And if you're picked to be a traitor, you still have to act as a faithful.
Yeah.
So in my head, I was like, I am a faithful. And the only time I'm a traitor is when we're murdering in the night.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised at how easy I found lying to people in the face.
It's interesting because, you know, we get lots of famous people in this building, and most of the time they walk through, people don't bat an eyelid. But when people found out you were coming in today, members of staff were saying, can we get a selfie? Can we get a selfie? Can we get a selfie? What's life been like for you in this last sort of 3 weeks since it came on TV?
It's just random. It's crazy to me because I just think I'm just Mina, you know, from down the road in Liverpool. But people will stop me in the train station, or, you know, I went out for a meal with my husband and someone came over and was like, sorry to be rude, can I ask for a picture? I don't know if I could ever get used to that, to be honest, because I just went on the show because I love the game. I've watched the first and the second series of it. So to be part of such an amazing show and then people to love you off the back of that, who would have thought being a murderer would be celebrated?
Yeah. In inverted commas,
Of
not
course,
literally.
yeah, not in real life.
You just write their names on a bit of paper, don't you?
Yeah.
And I mean, you've gone back to your job. You run a call centre manager in Liverpool. I mean, I guess you filmed it in May, you said to me earlier, and then so that no one's seen it, so life carries on as normal. Then it comes on the telly. I mean, what's life like now?
It's just insane. Last week I was in the office and, you know, people were stopping meetings to ask me for pictures and everyone wants to talk about it and hear about it because I couldn't tell anyone. So no one in work apart from my manager knew up until the 1st of January. So even that, like being in work and knowing that I've got this big exciting secret I can't share.
6 months you've had to keep it to yourself.
I've been suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously have to not tell it. Were you allowed to tell even your husband what had happened in the game?
Well, no, I could tell him that I was on the show.
Right.
But he's a massive fan, so he didn't want any spoilers.
Right.
In the end, I told him I was a traitor, but I didn't tell anybody else. So we actually filmed, my family and friends, we all went to a bar and watched it, and we filmed their reaction, which was really nice. It was so special because they were just cheering. Obviously, they knew I wanted to be a traitor, so that was amazing.
And you've said about the whole celebrity thing. Has it given you a taste for it? Will you do more of that, or are you quite happy going back to being Mina Shannon and doing your normal life?
I mean, I do love a bit of attention. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. So I suppose, like, I really enjoy talking, so I'd love to go into, like, hosting or maybe do a podcast. So I think it's given me a bit of, like, a confidence boost to go into that because of how well I've been received by the public. So that would be something I'd be interested in.
Well, you're in the right building. I expect there are a few BBC managers right now jumping up from their desks and scrambling to come and meet you by the door. It's lovely to meet you.
Oh,
thank you so much for coming in. And it was like 7 million people watched the final.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
crazy.
Wow.
Absolutely crazy. But yeah, such a brilliant piece of TV to be a part of, definitely.
Oh, well done. And thank you. We really appreciate you coming and talking to North West tonight. Thanks, Mina. Thank you. Wow. If you haven't seen it, it's available on BBC iPlayer and it is well worth watching. Right, let's have a quick look at sport. We've sent Richard out and about so we could talk to Mina tonight. He's at Turf Moor. There's a good reason for being there, Rich. Big night for Burnley tonight.
It really is, Roger. Yeah, just talking to some of the Burnley fans, there's real excitement here at Turf Moor. That's because Burnley are third. They take on the leaders, Leeds United. But if the Clarets can win tonight, they will go level on points with Leeds. It's sort of a case of the best attack as well. That's what Leeds have against the best defence. That's what Burnley have. They're both on really good unbeaten runs as well. And Burnley's manager, for one, is expecting a very tough but even contest.
They've got some real quality in their team, players that they've kept as well. I'm sure Daniel will be saying the same about us. He understands the problems that we can cause them. It's got the ingredients to be a very good game. I think it will be defined on the fine margins.
Of course, Burnley are trying to get into the Premier League, aren't they? That's where we'll go now. And Ruben Amorim's comments, deflected shot, enough to take the points for United. But it was the comments of the head coach after the game that made the headlines.
It's every day, every detail. We miss a little bit like pace to go to change the game, but I prefer like that. I will put Vital before I put a player that don't give the maximum every day.
All of our Premier League sides won. It was a really good weekend for the North West, including on the 700th game in charge as a Premier League manager for David Moyes. Great day for Moisey. It was a great day for the North West in League One as well. All of our teams won in League One, including managerless, enjoy the game, managerless Bolton Wanderers. They won 1-0 at Huddersfield Town. Aaron Collins with the goal for Wanderers. Blackpool also an excellent 3-1 win at Exeter. They scored some excellent goals in that game. And both Wigan Athletic and Stockport County won by 2-0. The Latics against Bristol Rovers. County Crawley, you can see that here, I think. That cements County's position in the playoffs. Well done to County. And in the WSL, it's turning into a bit of a... It's building up here, as you can tell. Turning into a bit of a battle between Manchester United and City towards the top. Manchester United went second after a 3-0 win yesterday against Brighton. All of the best coverage on BBC Radio Lancashire. Leeds are here, from here. Back to you, Rog.
Richard and friends, thank you, including Moisey. I'm sure he's watching. Richard Askham, thank you very much indeed. Right, let's have a look at the weather, shall we? We were talking about some of these winter storms, Kay.
We have indeed, and actually we do have one currently, although named by the Spanish Met Office, Armenia, providing beautiful spells of sunshine for some, but equally strong winds. We've had some lightning, we've had hail and gloomy skies for others as well. So it's been a really mixed bag. And that low pressure system is staying with us as we head through this evening and overnight tonight. Thank you for sending your photos in. If you do want to follow me on socials or become a BBC Weather Watcher, let me know what it's like in your part of the world. So, the week ahead, what's going on? Well, this low-pressure system stays with us, bringing windy conditions, some heavy showers. We're going to turn drier and sunnier midweek. Wednesday, Thursday really quite pleasant, although a cold start Thursday. It'll be less breezy as well. And at this stage, we're looking at some rain with some snow on the leading edge, mainly over the hills. Thursday night clearing quite quickly Friday morning. But let's take a look at Armenia. You can see now, as this low pressure pushes over us, the winds briefly will die out for a time overnight, but then as it sweeps to the northeast, the winds will strengthen once again. So it's still gusting at the minute, out about 50, 60 miles per hour. Heavy and persistent spells of rain, likely to be snow for the Pennines and the Fells, but a lot of this will clear away as we head overnight tonight. Gusts of between about 30 and 40 miles per hour, 6 degrees the low on the Isle of Man. If you just look towards Merseyside, Cheshire, through the Cheshire Plain, it's here where we're likely to see the best of any bright spells first thing tomorrow. It'll soon cloud over and we're back to scattered showers. Less heavy, less likely to have thunder and lightning from those showers, and it looks like we'll get a clearance from the north. The winds will be lighter by the end of the day. Top temperatures 7 or 8 degrees, give or take average for this time of year. Later then into the midweek, we calm down, a clear night overnight to Thursday, a cold, sharp frost, and then this is the front that's going to bring us some further rain for a brief time overnight into Friday, sorry. So for Wednesday, there'll be a little bit of patchy mist and fog around at first. Brightens up really quite nicely. A dry day, a bright day, decent spells of sunshine, and top temperatures 8 degrees. That's Roger doing a bit of printing at the end of the forecast.
Sorry, was that a bit noisy? I was printing something because we have some sad news, I'm afraid, to finish with this evening. It's been announced earlier this afternoon that our BBC friend and colleague Andy Ball has died. Andy, if you live in Merseyside, you will know very well. He worked at BBC Merseyside for nearly 30 years as a presenter, a reporter, and also part of the management team there.
He loved nothing more than getting out into the communities right across the whole of Merseyside. He will be dearly missed. We send our condolences to his wife, Lynn, and, of course, his family.
Yeah, our thoughts with Andy Ball and his certainly with his family tonight. Thank you for watching. Steve Saul's here with the late news at 10:30, but whatever you're doing, have a good evening.
Take care.